Marchetti's on Valentine's Day. White linen, candlelight, iris and burgundy across from me. Between the main course and dessert, I slid a manila folder across the table. Before dessert, I have something to share. She reached for it, smiling. Expected a love letter. She opened the first page. Bank statements. Wire transfers highlighted in yellow. 14 years of them. Her hand stopped moving. The practiced smile collapsed. She turned to the second page. Before we continue, tap subscribe and drop in the comments what time it is for you. Thank you for your support. My name is Rupert Thorne, 46 years old. Senior wine buyer for a mid-Atlantic distributor, 20 years running. My father managed a hardware store in upstate New York. My mother kept the books at the kitchen table every Sunday night, columns of numbers in her careful handwriting. I'd sit beside her, eating cereal, watching her pencil move down the ledger. She never used a calculator. Said the numbers should make sense before you check them. I learned that numbers don't lie. People do. My father said something to me once when I was 16 and still thought I understood things. A man who trusts the wrong person lives in someone else's house. I thought he was talking about business. After college, a professor whose wine I didn't respect connected me to a regional distributor that needed someone who could read an invoice. First week, I found their Sonoma vendor had been padding freight charges by 3% for 2 years. They offered me full-time before the month was out. 20 years later, I'd built a reputation in the trade as the buyer who never got cheated. I married Iris when I was 26. Cass came a year later. We bought a craftsman house with 4 bedrooms and good bones in a suburb where people waved from their porches. I made $92,000 a year, and every month I put $400 into Cass's 529 college fund. 17 years without missing a single contribution. My home office had 17 leather-bound journals on the shelf. After every tasting, I'd sketch the wine label from memory, not art. Precision, every font, curve, and color noted. The act slowed my mind down, a way to process the day that had nothing to do with spreadsheets. My father's vintage Omega Seamaster sat on a stand beside my desk lamp. He wore it every day for 30 years. When he died, I put it on and never took it off. Iris managed the household finances. She did part-time event coordination, bringing in maybe $15,000 a year. Enough for her own spending, she said. I never questioned it. I audited every vendor invoice that crossed my desk, caught every padded charge, every inflated allocation. 20 years of professional vigilance. I never once audited my own wife. The shortfalls started small. Things I noticed. The way I'd notice a vendor rounding up on freight. A feeling, not a fact. Our family vacation went from a week to 4 days. The kitchen faucet leaked for 3 months before I fixed it myself. Cass needed new soccer cleats, and Iris said we should wait until next month. On $92,000 a year with a paid-down mortgage, next month shouldn't have been necessary. I asked once. Iris was chopping vegetables, her back to me. She listed medical co-pays, insurance premium increases, her mother Beverly's prescriptions. Beverly Linden, Iris's mother, lived alone in a senior apartment complex since her own marriage ended. Retired school secretary. Iris visited her 3, sometimes 4 times a week. Such a good daughter, neighbors said. Iris smiled when they said it. What I didn't know, what I'd learn months later through bank records and a forensic accountant's timeline, Beverly's apartment was a logistics center. A prepaid phone in the kitchen drawer, used only to coordinate schedules and cover stories. A stack of forwarded mail from addresses I'd never seen. When Iris said she was taking Beverly to a doctor's appointment, Beverly was on the couch watching television while Iris drove 40 minutes east to Kellerton. Marlo Teague lived in Kellerton, a 41-year-old real estate appraiser. He and Iris had 2 children together. Nina, 14, Jalen, younger. They lived in a 3-bedroom colonial house funded by wire transfers from my income. Monthly payments routed through accounts I didn't know existed. 14 years. I sensed the numbers were wrong, the way I'd sense a vendor padding an invoice. A professional unease without a target. But Iris had calibrated every diversion to stay below my threshold, and I trusted her enough to let the feeling pass. Until the coat. Iris asked me to drop her wool coat at the dry cleaner. I checked the pockets. Standard habit. Coins, a tissue, a crumpled slip of paper. A bank transfer confirmation. $2,400 wired to an account number I'd never seen, through a branch I didn't know Iris used. I stood in the hallway, holding that receipt like a vendor invoice with the wrong math. My body knew what it was before my mind caught up. I photographed it with my phone, replaced it in the pocket, and said nothing. First time in 20 years of marriage, I withheld information from my wife. That evening, Iris cooked pasta. She touched my arm as she passed behind my chair, told me about Beverly's blood pressure, asked about my Brunello allocation. Her warmth was the same warmth I'd trusted for 2 decades. I answered normally, normally. Cleared the plates. Your teeth. Something had shifted. Not anger, something colder. The man who trusts is one person. The man who verifies is another. After Iris went to bed, I sat in my home office. 17 wine journals on the shelf, the Omega on its stand. I pulled our joint account statements and spread them across the oak desk. Recurring transfers, monthly, labeled home maintenance, labeled medical copays. I cross-referenced everyone against our actual bills. None of them matched. I picked up the phone and called Reggie Turnbow, my college roommate, now a forensic accountant running his own fraud detection practice. We'd stayed in touch, drinks twice a year, the kind of friendship that doesn't need maintenance. I need you to trace a wire transfer for me. He was quiet for 3 seconds. In our world, that's a long time. This personal? Yes. Send me the details. And, Rupert, don't tell me anything else yet. Let the numbers talk first. I hung up and sat in the dark, surrounded by 20 years of careful documentation. The same desk, the same lamp, the same man. But the investigation had started. Reggie called 2 weeks later. His voice had the flat quality I recognized from depositions. Professional distance. You need to come see this in person, he said. His office was organized the way mine was, everything labeled, everything in order. He'd spread printouts across the conference table, color-coded tabs marking the flow of money. The $2,400 went to a personal checking account at a bank across town. Iris's name on the account. From there, it moved to a household account in Kellerton belonging to Marlo Teague. 3 hops. Joint savings to hidden checking to Marlo's account. Each transfer sized to avoid automated fraud monitoring. She's been doing this for 14 years, Reggie said, turning pages. Monthly, $1,800 to $3,000. Sometimes more around school registration periods. He set down the last page. $400,000. I didn't speak. The number didn't need my help. There's something else, he said. He slid a printout across the table. Cass's 529 account. Periodic withdrawals disguised as rebalancing transfers. The account should hold roughly $90,000 with growth. Current balance is $12,000 and change. I stared at the number. The $400 every month for 17 years. The future I thought I was building for my daughter. Gone. Redirected to Kellerton Academy, where Nina Teague attended 8th grade at $14,000 a year, enrolled under Iris's maiden name. One daughter's future funding, another daughter's present. I drove to Marchetti's the following afternoon. Sophie Marchetti, the restaurant's owner, had been my friend for 15 years through the wine business. I found her in the back office doing inventory. "Sophie, I need to see your old reservation ledgers." She retrieved the leather-bound books from a storage shelf without asking why. I opened the first Valentine's Day entry and worked backward. Year by year, Thorne, party of 2. The year before, Teague, party of 4. Before that, Thorne, party of 2. 12 years, alternating, the same table, the same restaurant, all in Iris's handwriting, her loops and crossbars as distinctive as a signature. The odd years. The years Iris said she wanted to try somewhere new, or said Beverly needed her, or said she wasn't feeling well. Every excuse now had a decoded meaning. Sophie watched my face. "Rupert is everything." "Thank you, Sophie." That night, I sat at my desk with a manila folder and a set of tabbed dividers. The same system I used for vendor audits. Bank statements, highlighted. Kellerton, lease with Iris's co-signature. Nina's enrollment form. Reggie's timeline chart. Photocopies of Sophie's ledger pages. I closed the folder and called an attorney. Valentine's Day at Marchetti's. Iris had booked our anniversary table 3 weeks in advance. Called Sophie personally to request the corner alcove with the exposed brick. She didn't know I'd chosen this restaurant for a reason. Sophie's ledgers sat in the back office 20 feet from our table. Appetizers came. Iris talked about Cass's college applications, about a wedding she was coordinating in April, about how nice it was to have an evening together without rushing. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I ate. I listened. I checked my father's Omega. 7:42. The main course arrived. Veal for her. Branzino for me. She said the wine was perfect, that I always picked the right bottle. She was performing, and the performance was flawless. 14 years of practice. Between courses, I placed the manila folder on the white linen. Before dessert, I have something to share. She opened it, smiling. The smile lasted 2 seconds. First page, bank statements. Wire transfers highlighted in yellow. Her eyes moved across the numbers, and I watched the recognition arrive. Her expression changed in stages. The smile went first, then the composure behind it. She turned to the second tab, the Kellerton lease, her signature on the co-guarantee line. "Where did you get this?" Her voice dropped. Not panicked, calculating. Third tab, Nina Teague's enrollment form. Iris's maiden name listed as parent. "These records are private, Rupert. You had no right." Fourth tab, Reggie's timeline chart. 14 years of monthly withdrawals mapped against Kellerton household expenses. Every dollar accounted for. 20 years! Her voice broke. The real break, or the performed one, I couldn't tell anymore. 20 years I've given this family. Fifth tab, Sophie's reservation ledger. Photocopies of alternating Valentine's entries. Thorne, Teague, Thorne, Teague. In her own handwriting, in this restaurant. At this table, her hands stopped, her voice stopped. The tears, the accusations, the appeals, all of it fell away. What remained was something I'd never seen in 20 years. The face beneath all of it, cornered. "I'm not asking you to explain," I said. My voice was quiet. The numbers already did. She didn't move. The dessert menu sat untouched between us. 48 hours later, I sat in a hearing room at the county family court. Smaller than I expected. Conference table, fluorescent lighting, laminate paneling. No gallery, no drama. A stenographer, 2 attorneys. Judge Anita Ferris, a 57-year-old family court veteran, presiding from the raised bench. My attorney laid out the evidence in order. Reggie Turnbow's forensic report documenting the 3-hop transfer network. Bank statements spanning 14 years. Nina Teague's enrollment records. Sophie Marchetti's reservation ledger entries. Iris sat across the table in a gray blazer, hands folded, chin up. She attempted the same cycle I'd seen at Marchetti's. Tears first, dabbing her eyes with a tissue, looking at the judge with wounded bewilderment. Judge Ferris turned a page. Iris shifted, concerned for the family. This has been taken out of context. My husband is under tremendous stress, and I'm worried about the effect on our daughter. Judge Ferris turned another page. Iris tried indignation. These records were obtained without my knowledge. I have a right to. Thorne. The judge's voice was level. These are joint marital accounts. Your husband has full legal access. The room went quiet. Judge Ferris reached the section on Cass's college fund. 90,000 contributed with growth, 12,000 remaining. She set the pages down and looked at Iris over the top of the file, the way you'd look at an invoice that didn't add up. She studied Iris for a long moment. The emergency order came within the hour. All marital accounts frozen. Temporary sole custody of Cass awarded to me. Beverly Linden was named in the filing as a knowing accomplice. The woman who covered every absence, forwarded every piece of mail, sat in her apartment watching television while her daughter drove to Kellerton. Her cooperation was documented in detail. The locked closet in the Kellerton house had been opened by court order that morning. Inside, 14 scrapbooks documenting birthday parties, school plays, holidays. 2 families preserved in Iris's own hand. Different styles, different paper stock, so nothing from one life would end up in the other. 14 volumes of parallel family documentation entered into the record. The legal theory was dissipation of marital assets. Every diverted dollar would be credited against Iris's share of marital property. $400,000 she would owe from equity she no longer had. Cass learned about the college fund that evening. I told her at the kitchen table, the same table where Iris used to serve dinner and ask about her day. I told her about Nina Teague, the half-sister she never knew, about the tuition that replaced her savings. She didn't cry. She was quiet for a long time. The money for school, she said. It's gone? Most of it. She looked at the table. I want to stay with you, Dad. Iris left the courthouse with frozen accounts and a studio apartment waiting. If my story resonates with you, tap like and comment a rating from 1 to 10. Explain your score. I read them all. 6 months later. The Craftsman House is quieter with 2 people instead of 3. Cass received a merit scholarship that covers most of her tuition. She applied without telling me, came home one afternoon with the letter and set it on my desk next to the 18th journal. I handled it, she said, and for a moment she sounded so much like me that I had to look away. I still work the wine trade, still sketch labels after tastings, still wear my father's Omega. But the evidence binders are gone from the office shelf, replaced by the new journal. There is nothing hidden in this house, and I no longer audit rooms I should be able to trust. Sophie Marchetti started a fresh reservation ledger this year. Clean pages, new ink. She didn't mention the old books when I saw her last week. She poured me a glass of Nebbiolo and talked about her daughter's restaurant in Philadelphia. The divorce finalized in September. Dissipation confirmed. Every dollar traced with the same precision I bring to a wine allocation. Iris lives in a studio apartment downtown on her freelance income, no longer supplemented by a provider she treated as an account to be drawn from. Beverly stopped returning my calls. That told me everything I needed to know about where her loyalty lived. My father's words from when I was 16. I thought he was being careful. He was being exact. But I know this too. I'd rather have been the man who trusted than the woman who couldn't be trusted. I closed the 18th journal and placed it beside the other 17. Then I opened a bottle of the Barolo I'd been saving. A 2015. I'd bought it 9 years ago and left it alone because it wasn't ready. I poured a glass and held it to the light. The color had deepened. I tasted it. The tannins had softened. The fist had finally opened. It was worth the patience.